Congratulations to everyone that graduated.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
New transitions, new life goals.
I know.
Everybody's moving on up in the world.
So, how are you? How was your week, your 2 weeks?
Oh, good. Oh, besides the ear infection, I was functioning like for 2 months.
I don't know how she was managing herself like that.
Yeah, 2 months. I was just like, whatever, it's fine, it'll go away.
Only time.
Yeah, literally. And then I found out like I had neck pain all through here. I found out it was an ear infection. So it's getting better. I might be able to start waking up early again and
Yes.
just functioning a little bit better because I knew something was off. So listen to your body, guys, because I wasn't.
She was too deaf to listen to her body.
Yes, in this one ear.
Yeah.
I was like, every time my daughter was like, Mom, you don't have to yell.
Oh my goodness. Poor kids. They were being yelled at without we're doing nothing. We're doing nothing. Just breathe.
Not talking loud enough. So yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's been kind of different for me for the last 2 weeks, but I do want to say that I've gotten a lot of my self-care in and a lot of, just like it's been pretty mellow. So
That feels good.
definitely was good.
Nice.
Definitely was
Happy
good.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah. So today's
Yes.
little chat is going to be regarding like all sorts of transition, not just one, but mainly because a lot of our cousins are graduating this year. Like whether it
Yes.
be middle school or we had a few from graduating high school, and
Oh no.
it just brings me back
I
to the
know.
times, back to those beautiful moments.
Right. It's really bittersweet, right?
Bittersweet.
Because
Mhm.
we were there really help raising them and
Mhm.
seeing them from when they were first born to like how they are now. And they're already, young adults and entering adulthood. And it's just like it's a really good feeling to see
Yeah.
how they manage to really live different lives that we wanted for them.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so it's bittersweet. So we figured that we would take the time to really talk about that transition period from really just moving from something you are used to
Yeah.
and something different. Right.
And transition could be from any stage of life to another. So transitions happen from like toddler to kid, kid to adolescent, adolescent to young adult to what are we like? We're not young adults anymore.
Are you serious?
I know. We're not in the young adult anymore. We kind of like aged out of that, but we're still looking like we're looking. Hello.
No.
Well,
I
I'll
know
take
that
it.
is right.
Yep.
Like we look and fly anyway.
Yep.
I-
So tons of transitions. Even a marriage would be a transition. Divorce would be another transition.
Having a kid.
So it doesn't only apply to graduates, but that's what our experience is right now. We have a lot of little people in our family graduating.
Yeah.
So we're happy for them.
Yes, we're really happy. We
Yeah.
kind of handle our transitions differently now that we're adults and we've been through so many that it's kind of it gets a little easier.
Somewhat, yeah.
Somewhat. It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
I feel like the more you get to know yourself, then the more you adapt to the transition.
Exactly. First, I want to ask you,
Mm-hmm.
what was the main thing that came up in your specifically? Let's say transition from high school graduate to now you're going to college. What do you remember of those years?
Oh, wow. So I do remember feeling alone. I went to college. We went to college when we were 17.
Yeah.
And graduated high school.
And we really did try to go to the same college. It just happened to not work out that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
That was crazy because we were
Yeah.
trying. We never went to school together. We were always together, but that was one place we didn't go is to school together.
Neither of our schools
Right.
were the same. Yeah. Yeah, I felt alone. I felt like I wanted to feel like I was going to be able to like conquer the world.
Mhm.
And when I did end up being alone, I felt like confused.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I will always remember those feelings.
I feel like that feeling sticks with me too.
Mhm.
Not the loneliness. Well, yes, I think loneliness was part of it, but I was also like in this weird stage of resentment. Yeah. Resentment towards like what I felt like my roommates were getting from their family and what I was getting from my family. Like
Yeah.
these people were getting care packages, and my family didn't even know what a care package was. So I kind of resented them for not
Mhm.
educating themselves, which is selfish of me at the time, which is a very selfish time, I think, in general. When you're going into young adulthood, you have to be selfish. So,
Right. I feel like around that time you get a lot of reality checks,
mm,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Growing up, our parents took care of us and we
Mm,
had to like go based off of what they said.
yeah.
Versus like when we're out in college, just like, okay, so what do we do now? How are we
Yeah.
supposed to eat our next meal?
Right.
Or you rip some shoes, like how are you gonna get some new shoes?
Even down, like, get down to the little things of like what, and this is the part where I would encourage parents, if you're listening, make sure you're teaching your kids at young adolescence of some type of independence, whether that be like
Mhm.
going into the grocery store themselves and learning how to pick out margarine or learning how to pick eggs out. Teach
Right.
them little small skills, because, or even learning a new trade. All of those things are so important because
Mhm.
remember that vividly feeling like, well, they told me how to do everything step by step. And if I didn't do it that way, then it was wrong. So now I felt like since I really can't call them, they're not to my beck and call anymore.
Right.
Am I doing it right? And what do I do?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Like what is considered right or
So
wrong.
it's a lot of
Mhm.
anxiety. And that comes
Mhm.
from like having, from my experience, parents with rigid boundaries that they were like,
Right.
this is it, this is how you have to do it. And if it's not this way, then it's the highway. So,
Yes.
yes,
Yes,
that was a lot of
but
anxiety.
coming from that background, that's where you're like you're so used to like being told. And I wouldn't say like being told what to do all the time, but like
Right.
even when you did something that they didn't tell you and you did on your own, they still gave you their feedback.
Yeah.
At this point, it was like they're not even here to see what I'm doing.
Mm.
So that was a unique transition. I think that kind of paved the way for all my other transitions, for
Yes,
sure,
yes,
for
yes, yes.
sure.
Yeah. And I think that's speaking to exactly how I feel too, that it paved the way, because now when I'm going through a transition, I'm like, there's nothing worse than that transition because bruh, I was feeling like, yes, very
Yeah.
depressed. I was depressed. No doubt about
Yeah.
it. I was depressed. I was like, I remember I was eating like trash and I was sleeping in all the time. I didn't even want to like, I
Mhm.
didn't want to go to class. Like, and I didn't understand the concept of you don't go to class, you don't really pass, you don't get this
Mhm.
grade. I mean, I did know the concept, but I didn't really care for it. Feeling pity, complete pity over myself, like, oh my gosh, see, this is why I can't make it to class. My friends have a car. My friends have this. My roommates have a car. Roommates
Right.
have a caring family that's calling
Mhm.
them in the morning and being like, good morning. Like whatever little thing it was that I
Right.
was resentful over at that time, I had to go over that hump of feeling pity for myself. So now when a transition comes up, I make
Mhm.
sure to recognize like I've been through some shit before and this is just the process.
Right.
This is the process.
Right.
Pain
This is
before going.
pain.
Right.
Right.
Actually. Oh, I love it.
I definitely remember those things. And I came to a point in time too where I was feeling like that. Mostly because the college I decided to go to my freshman year of college was not affordable.
Yeah.
And I had to fend for myself. Like I had to figure out how I was gonna pay that bill, how I was gonna pay my books, how I was
Mhm.
gonna, like how I was gonna survive. And so that was literally on my head 24/7. And like you say, the influences around you, they weren't worrying about the things that I was
Yes,
worried about.
exactly. It was so strange. I was so confused. Like, wait, you're an adult. They're not treating you like an adult. Like just
Right.
a lot of the people that send their kids off to college. they helped them move in.
Really?
And I was out. And I was
No.
like, leave it at the doorstep. Doo-doo-doo.
Bye. See you when I see you.
Yeah. So that was all strange to me, but
Mhm.
I do think it was worth going through.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, that's how we became the women that we
Yeah.
are today.
Exactly.
So for today, we actually read a book called Transitions by William Bridges. And this book basically talked about the different transitions that we go through, what are considered transitions, right? And you mentioned them already. It can be, transitions are very important. They're very important. There's things that we have to go through in order for us to appreciate the new beginning, right? So really focus. So in summary, the book talked about leaving some things behind. So the ending, having that ending process is just as important as having that new beginning. And then having to really understand that closing that old chapter is only going to get you started on your new chapter. You can't have both of them at the same time. It is not
It's
possible.
part of the journey.
It is important to reflect what truly adds value, beauty, and simplicity to your life that will allow you to feel comfortable with the new life that you're bringing in, right? Have knowledge and have awareness of a transition. It can transform having our knowledge and awareness. It can transform our transitions because it can give us confidence and freedom.
Yes. Awareness. I think about that all the time.
Yes.
Awareness is my favorite thing because we lose it in a lot of different emotions. But when I think about awareness, it's like, you're going into a transition. So there's a lot of different things that you have to implement, like you said, adapting. But not only you adapting, but other people learning how to adapt to your transition. For instance, like family members around you learning that you're going into a young adulthood, or family members around you understanding like they're going into a new transition, they're going into a different stage of their life that I may not understand in this generation, but this is how I can
Yes.
adjust to what they're going through. That might be difficult for some families and easier for others.
So having this awareness and this knowledge, it'll help us with the uncertainty, right? Sometimes we're in this neutral zone, like William Bridges mentioned. And this neutral zone is more like just that area of I'm probably ending something and I'm starting something different. Really trying to identify that that's where you are,
Yes.
right? You can really help yourself get to a comfortable state, right?
Yeah.
Like, and not forcing yourself out of that, because
Yes,
that's
yes,
another
yes.
thing he talked about, where it's like trying to force the change is not going to make the transition easier.
Exactly. It's just enjoying that part of your life at the moment. Like for me, graduating with my master's, for instance, I was waiting for the next part of my life of finding that job that I always wanted. However, that in between stage, I knew something new was starting, but I needed to just enjoy that period of time where I didn't have that expectation of having the job, but I also was out of that prideful moment of like, I did it. So
Right.
what that compares to for me is that moment when you're going to the gym and you reach a plateau. And yeah, that's the worst time to give up. So
Yeah.
it's like that time, if you keep on working and you keep on enjoying that plateau and enjoying the fact that you're eating good, you're working out and you're feeling amazing, then it will become a climax of now I have this new weight loss.
Right.
And
You're right.
so I compare it to that. It's like reminds me of just enjoy that neutral period.
Right. Because we're in a plateau. What we used to do before is not going to come to the new beginning that we're going to have. So we have to really appreciate what we have learned in that journey.
Oh, speaking of, there's two things that came to mind immediately when I thought of life transition as a young adult. And one was boundaries. Boundaries are so important when you think of that moment when you're going into something new And there might be family members that might be for it or against it, might want to
Yeah.
enjoy it with you and might not want to. One thing that I am grateful for is that we were mad tight, but we
Mhm.
also did have some separation. Mostly in school and social life,
Right.
we always had some type of
Mhm.
boundaries there. And it
Mhm.
wasn't like we knew what the hell boundaries was.
Mhm.
Maybe it is like your mom. Maybe your mom is just not used to you going to this school every Sunday because she has Sunday dinner. That's a boundary you have to, a new boundary you have to set, and they'll have to adjust to. Like, oh, I can't go to dinner on Sunday, but maybe we could do another day, just
Right.
while I'm in school or whatever it is. I think about it often is those people that have parents that are maybe very difficult and maybe even narcissistic or have like a personality disorder
Yeah.
where they're really just what happens in those situations is a kid might be parentified.
Yes.
They're taking care of their parent. So they feel like they have to do something because their parent wants it. They have to go to college because their parent wants it. You're continuing that dysfunctional relationship of you taking care of the parent because you're taking care of their emotions before yours. So
Right.
that has to be an
Right.
adjustment. Whatever you got to do to adjust it.
Especially young adulthood at that time when you are graduating or finishing high school or whatever school you decided to go to
Yeah.
and beginning something, you have to, that's when it has to be that you practice those boundaries
Yeah.
and you set them because that's the beginning of your life.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of your
The
life.
adult life.
Yes,
Yeah.
your adult
It
life.
is.
You really have to just figure out what kind of adult you want to be.
Yeah. Do you want to continue putting other people first? I mean, it's
Hmm.
okay to be empathetic or compassion or like, that's different from
Yeah.
being completely
Yeah.
ca- caring to
Yeah.
the point that you just tire yourself out at the beginning of early adulthood.
Right.
So
Right.
that was one thing I thought of when was boundaries. The second thing was, of course, going into new goal setting,
Mm.
which is like,
Yeah.
you obviously accomplished a huge goal of graduating. Like, what
Mhm.
is next? And usually it tons of things. So you have to list that and kind of work through that with yourself and see what's going to make you happy, what's worth it, what's first, and
Right. Right.
prioritizing.
As long as you have a vision of what you want your adult life to look like and be, then that's all that matters. And granted, a lot of the times you're gonna have to pivot, right?
Hmm.
Like that's just what life is all about. It throws you all types of curveballs and you have to figure out what you're gonna do. What are you gonna do about it, right? And then sometimes we have to adjust some of our goals and sometimes we have to eliminate some of them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
One thing I wish I knew when I was 18 years old was don't feel like you have to have your life all planned out and figured out at 18 or 17 or 19 or
Exactly.
not having your life figured out is okay. I remember hearing a podcast from Jay Shetty, and what he said is like, spend your youth or your young adulthood really trying to figure out what that passion is,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Really trying to figure out what is it that you love? What is it that you feel like you can do for the rest of your
Yeah.
life, or at least for a big chunk of your life, right? And really think about those things, but you won't learn that at 16.
Exactly. Yeah.
You won't, and
You're only at the tip of the iceberg at 16. Like you're
right,
only touching the surface of
right,
exploring some
right.
possibilities.
I know when I was growing up, I wanted to be a judge. Like
Mhm.
I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be
Mhm.
I never thought I would be a social worker.
Yeah.
I never thought I would go into a mental health field.
Mhm.
And granted, I didn't know much about it either.
Yeah.
So I had other dreams for myself. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until I went through those warring 20s, right,
Yeah.
that I was like, oh wow, I do want to do this.
Yeah.
Like I do want to be in the mental health field. I do want to work with kids. I do want to work with families. I do want to be
Mhm.
make that change and just really growing into the passion. And I've been working on my master's
Yeah.
for now. I'm entering my third year,
Mhm.
and it's like, wow,
Mhm.
I can feel that this is where I belong.
You're going into that climax slowly and you're
Hmm.
enjoying that journey in life of
Right.
like, oh, this is really fun to learn about. And that's what it has to be. Like